Hey there, and welcome to Marketing Advice Monday. Doing this a little bit later today to see if maybe these evening times are a little bit friendlier for folks. I know often you are seeing clients or sometimes working your other full-time job during the day. So I wanted to try out an evening here to see if maybe that would be a better fit for everyone. So today I am diving in, as you may have seen in the event invite, to talk about whether or not branding is something that's going to get you new clients. Branding is something you've probably heard a lot of talk about. Maybe even a colleague of yours invested some money in a designer to, build out a really pretty logo, design some font suite and a color palette and things like that for them. And that might be kind of where your brain goes when you think about branding. Branding is, in fact, actually a lot bigger than that. Which you may or may not know. Branding is not just your logo or your colors. It's not just your font or your tagline or something like that. It's really about the experience that you offer your clients. Your brand is an extension of you, especially as a private practitioner. You are your brand. You don't have another group practice to lean on or an agency. You're not working for a large company that you just kind of take on the brand of. You are your brand. So your brand matters in private practice, but I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to dive into today, is that it's not all about just your logo and your colors. When you think about your brand, there are some other areas that you really need to be focusing on before spending hundreds of dollars of your hard-earned money on things like a logo or a color palette. You may have heard the quote from Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO and founder of Amazon. I know you know that name. And he said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So what do you think your clients say about you when you're not in the room? What they're probably not saying is, oh, she has a really pretty logo. Or, oh, her colors are unbelievable. She just has this really cool kind of look and feel. That's not what they're probably talking about. What they're talking about is what it's like to have a session with you, the way that you describe yourself and what you offer them. They're talking about the experience that they have with you in working together every single week. That is your brand. And that, therefore, is where you should start and where you should be investing in, kind of to get going. That's not to say that a logo isn't necessarily a good investment, but if you're just starting out or if you're trying to decide where to spend your hard-earned money to move the needle, let's not start with a logo. Let's start with getting that initial kind of foundational things down. So your brand is not just logo, not just color, not just fonts. It is, oh, there's my puppy, that's Bella. It is your office space. It is how you talk about yourself. It is your headshot. It is the way that you yourself talk, your own voice, your own tone in both your written word and your verbal words. So there's a lot to think about here. But I do want you to think about what your clients are actually resonating with. How would they go out and describe you? Because those are the things that we want to be investing in, not just that how you're appealing kind of right initially when someone sees you or lands on your website or sees your business card. Let's talk a little bit about what branding actually does in order to understand this and kind of unpack this a little bit. Branding is all about creating a connection, just like good marketing. Branding is kind of lives under the umbrella of marketing, and marketing is about ultimately being memorable. So a good logo, good colors are going to make you memorable, but what's actually going to move the needle? There is a saying among world-class kind of marketing strategists and web strategists, and they say design attracts, but words sell. So your design can differentiate you. It can make you memorable in someone else's mind, especially if they've been looking for a therapist for the last week and have landed on 16 other therapist websites, and all of a sudden yours is a lot prettier or speaks to them visually right off the bat. It can help you differentiate yourself. But that saying, design attracts, but words sell, actually tells us that a very pretty, unclear website is not going to convert as many clients as a less pretty, little bit more mundane, very clear nicely worded website is going to, that it really is about words that are going to drive action in your clients. That means that we need to be investing in your words before we're investing in all of those kind of cherry on top things like a really pretty logo or a font suite or something like that. Let's think about how a logo could potentially serve you. So a logo could help you stand out if all of your other clients or all of your other private practitioners in your area don't have a good logo. It could help you stand out if you're in a super niche market that that allows you to create a really specific targeted visual. But the impact of your logo, the impact of your colors kind of ends there. If instead you invest in the words that make up your brand, the way that you communicate your value, the way that you speak directly to that niche ideal client, if you invest instead in those words can be used on your website. They can be used in your consult calls. They can be used in ad copy if you decide to do ads. They can help you decide what to blog about and what not to blog about. They can help you decide what to post on social media, what referrals to reach out to, all of those kinds of things. Your message, the words you use, are actually a way more powerful tool than just your visuals. So branding is not just about those couple little things that might come to mind initially. It's actually about something a lot deeper. It's about creating that experience, creating that connection with your client, not just with words, but not just with visuals, but with the power of words. They all kind of work together. So if you're sitting here and maybe you're starting your private practice or you're really looking to get some new clients in these next couple months before you close out 2020, don't focus too much on the visuals. There's something to be said for them, but instead I want you to kind of approach branding like a triangle. At the bottom, or a pyramid, I suppose. At the bottom is your niche and your ideal client. Any good brand, if you were to hire, a designer for the next, to work on a logo for the next 3 months and pay them a couple $100, maybe even $1,000, they, if they're a good designer, would start with your niche and your ideal client. So it's about first understanding what exactly it is that you do and who exactly you do it for. So your niche has to be targeted. Again, we go back and look for niching in this group. We've talked about it many a time, but a good solid niche is a very specific population that you yourself can serve in a way that no one else can. It's an area that you can claim, a space that you can claim that you have expertise in and that you have passion about. Good marketing, people are going to see through it if you're not super authentic. And so a good niche means that you could be authentically passionate about serving that group of people. It's not to say you can't pivot down the line, but as you're crafting that message, you have to know exactly what you do, what that niche is, and then who you do it for. So some questions to ask yourself about your ideal client. Have they been to therapy before, or are they brand new? Because that will dictate kind of how you talk to them, right? If they're not very familiar, you're going to have to approach them a little bit differently. So have they been to therapy before? What age group are they? Where are they spending their time? What are they motivated by? They have some motivations that are leading them to therapy, which are important to understand, but they're also deciding to work with you because they want to be a better person. So if you can figure out what those kind of deeper motivations are beyond just therapy, maybe if you work with, career men and women, they're money motivated. That's an important thing to know and understand, because then you can connect with them and use language that really speaks into that. Maybe they're very motivated by relationship. Maybe you work with single women that are kind of just navigating that season of life. Maybe it's a season they've chosen or a season that they wish they weren't in. Understanding what those motivations are, what really gets them up out of bed. And then thinking about how do they describe the problems that are leading them to therapy. This is a gold mine for good messaging. Thinking about how, when you've sat down with a client for the very first time, or perhaps just on a consult call or in other conversations with clients, how did they talk about why they were heading out to seek therapy? It's not because they're looking for cognitive behavioral therapy or, Gottman or whatever it may be. They're not using that language, so we don't want to use that language in our messaging. We want to mirror to them the same language that they themselves are using. So ask yourself, how are they talking about their problems? If you continue kind of asking some of these deeper discovery questions, you're going to start to build out what's called a persona. you're going to not only know your niche and who you serve, but exactly who you do it for. And then with that foundation of that pyramid, then you can build the message on top. A good message when it comes to branding is something that is repeatable. It's not just, your message is not just what goes on your about page of your website, or not just what goes in, the byline of your Instagram bio. Your message is your deep kind of red thread between everything that you do in your marketing. And when you write a good messaging framework, it's actually supposed to be repeated everywhere. It's actually supposed to simplify every part of your marketing. So if you can write a couple key pieces, write a practice promise. Your practice promise is one statement that communicates what you do, who you do it for, and the results that you provide. A good example of a promise for my own business and the work that I do here as part of this group is I help private practitioners fill their practices with clients they love and who love them. You know immediately in my promise statement what I do, who I do it for, and what I provide. If you can write out a practice promise, you can start using that literally everywhere. You can use that in the hero of your homepage. You can use that when people ask you, what do you do? When you're at a dinner party and someone's wondering what you do. You can use that in the bio of your Instagram. You can use that, when you're interfacing with potential referral sources. You will have a really compelling statement that immediately communicates what you do. So write a practice promise. Write a positioning statement. A positioning statement is what communicates what you do that no one else does. We call that your only you factor here in this group. So that's a statement that says, I am the only therapist or counselor that does X for this population in my area. So you might be really differentiated by the fact that you actually only work weekday evenings and the weekends to make sure you can accommodate schedules. That helps you stand out. So I am the only grief counselor that only works that works weekday evenings and weekends to ensure I am serving men and women who are walking through grief at the times that they need it most. That's called a positioning statement. If you can build out a positioning statement, you can start to communicate immediately why someone would choose you and not someone else. And last but not least, write out an elevator pitch, or some people call it an overview statement. An elevator pitch is what dives a little bit deeper into why you're positioned the way you are, what your approach is, and ultimately what results you provide. The way you can build out a really compelling elevator pitch is stating the problem that you solve, the results that you provide, and then a quick summary of how you get there. So you kind of hook them with the problem. Here, my clients are often dealing with X, Y, and Z. Then you can speak to the solutions. As a result of working with me, my clients see results A, B, and C. And then that last one can be, we get there by working together for 3 to 6 months, meeting weekly and going through really powerful talk therapy and exercises on a weekly basis to really move the needle and help them live the life that they're looking for. That kind of 3-piece formula is going to build out a statement that's going to be really helpful to use on places like your About page. If you're ever guest blogging or something like that, you can translate that into referral letters when you're asking doctors or pastors for referrals and things like that. You can start to see now how your messaging, that part of your branding, is actually the most impactful and really the part of your brand that's going to simplify your marketing way more than just if you decide to invest money or time into a logo or into colors. Instead, focus on that message, because that message can start being repeated everywhere, and it should be repeated because, like we talked about, marketing is about being memorable. So if you can reinforce these messages, if you can repeat these 3 things over and over, and of course you're going to adapt them a little bit. They might take on some different flavors, but if you can have that framework to lean up against, you're going to spend way less time trying to figure out what to say on places like your website or in referral letters. And you're going to be able to show clients why they should know, like, and trust you, because you have these statements that are true and that you've actually put some time and effort into, so that you automatically are communicating value and connecting with that ideal client that you work so hard to kind of build out and profile. So you're building that pyramid. We have your niche and your ideal client. We have your message, which is your practice promise, your positioning statement, and your elevator pitch. Then on top is where you can do things like your logo and your colors and your fonts and things like that. And sometimes that might be something you really enjoy, in which case my suggestion is always head over to Canva, which is a totally free tool. You can play around. They actually have a couple templates you can play around with and adapt to create a logo. You can create a really beautiful font suite if you want, or play around with colors and things like that. The goal would be that if you decide to kind of DIY the visual part of your branding, which I am a huge advocate of, if you have that kind of skill set and desire, is to make sure that that is also consistent. Just like we want your message to be reinforced over and over, we also want your visuals to be reinforced over and over. So select just a couple brand colors, create a single logo, settle on 1 or 2 fonts, and use those throughout everything that you do. Because along with your message, if you're also reinforcing that with a consistent visual brand, you're only going to further connect and further show your clients why they should trust you. Because if you're showing up time and time again consistently, that builds trust. And that's what your clients need from you. They just want to trust you. They need to know that you're an expert, that you get them, and that they can trust you. And by showing up consistently time and time again, you will do that. So that is my suggestion as it relates to branding. Can branding help you get more clients? Absolutely. Is branding more than just logo and colors and fonts? Yes. And if you are thinking about and trying to decide where in the branding world you should be investing your time, invest in that message. Invest in how you immediately communicate your value, and then sprinkle in the fun visuals, and then sprinkle in the patterns and designs and colors and fonts. But really, really anchor yourself, anchor your practice in that message, in those 3 kind of elements, and you will simplify your marketing in a way that really nothing else in that whole branding umbrella really can, and help you show up online and offline in a way that's really consistent and that shows your clients, hey, I get you because you built your brand for them, and you can trust me because I'm going to show up time and time again to our sessions, just like you're seeing me show up time and time again across all mediums and marketing methods time and time again. So be consistent, invest in the words you use, and show up consistently time and time again. And your clients, they will see it, they will see you, and they will connect with you in a way that just a good logo, good colors without a good message really, really can't. I hope that's helpful for you. As always, pop your questions in the comments if you so wish. If you would love to talk one-on-one about what branding might mean for your practice, especially if maybe you have a complicated niche or multiple niches or something like that, I'd love to chat with you. Head over to walkerstrategyco.com. I will leave the link in the comments. I offer a totally free strategy session. We'll spend 30 minutes together talking about what you do. I'll give you some actionable advice that you can take and put into action right away. And we can figure out if there's anything else that needs to be done to really get that needle moving for you so that you can get booked out. I loved getting to chat with you guys about this today. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. And I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. See you later.